Welcome along, folks, to a big session of Between the Posts. My name is Tony Neal and joining me is Indiana Rogers. How are you, Indy?
I'm pretty good, Tony. You definitely seem to be a lot warmer than I am, hence the different attire today.
Well, winter for you, and we're coming into spring, so obviously the short sleeves are in vogue as well. And I'll tell you what, Indy, finals are here, and what a huge show we've got. What have we got on tonight for the viewers?
On tonight's episode of Between the Posts, Phil Herden will be covering all of the men's results as well as the women's grand final results on the weekend, the last of the women's games for the Adelaide Footy League this year. Not to mention, Tommy Javor will also be taking a look at the two finals matches in the men's Division 1 from the weekend.
We've also got the great man, Indy's Analytics, and you went along to one of the best games of the year, I understand, on the weekend, Indy, so we really look forward to hearing what you've got to say about that. We also have all the men's medal winners and goal scorers to announce as well, if you haven't already seen it online from last night.
And also, don't forget, even though it's finals, we're still keeping track of the best goals and marks of the week, because there were plenty, and a lot of speckies in particular from that game between Prince Alfred and Sacred Heart. More on that later. But also, we have Tony, who will be putting the microscope under the Glenunga Rams ahead of their qualifying final against Prince Alfred on the weekend.
We also had a huge day on Saturday at the Women's Grand Final, Division 5, 3 and 1. We had 3 commentators down there. We had a cast of thousands with cameras, microphones everywhere. So we're going to have a bit of a look around at what we did down there besides the commentary. We had a football show and interviews, talked with the crowd as well. So stay tuned. We've also got a big announcement around Dartfish and the use of statistics, and we started the Women's Division 1 game on the weekend. So a huge show ahead, folks.
And Tommy Javor here with the Division 1 weekly wrap on Between the Posts. Well, let's get it out of the way. We had a table of experts last week. Some great like-minded individuals. 8 of us tipped Port District, and Beck Northcott tipped Tea Tree Gully, and she was right. She was right, we were wrong, and I got to see a great Stream Team game. Actually ran into Justin Mascotti yesterday at the Sanford Juniors Grand Finals, and it's really interesting because you can get 38 out of 40 tips throughout the year and no one says a word to you. You get a finals tip wrong, and I'm sure those Gullies people just give me a bit of feedback, and I did appreciate it. But they were too good at our Stream Team game in what could only really be conceived an upset, because they beat the reigning premiers, and I don't think the scoreline's a true reflection of the dominance they had in the game. Anyway, it was Port District 13-5-83, Tea Tree Gully 14-98. For the man in footage, he was best on ground. It's the man about town, Luke Brown, number 2 for Tea Tree Gully. Have a listen to these stats in a final. 43 touches at 88%. Behave yourself, Luke Brown. You can't be getting 43. 33 of those were kicks. A 200-game AFL footballer had 33 kicks in the final. Tells a bit of the story. He also had, wait for it, 14 clearances. I had 14 clearances in a 28-year career. He had 7 marks and kicked a beautiful goal. For the goal kickers, the other goal kickers, Tea Tree Gully, Tyler Martin did a bit of a 1997 Shane Allen type operation and bobbed up for 5 up front after kicking 4 the entire year. Pistol Pete Personos gave us 3, including one absolute beauty from the boundary line, and 6 other individual goal scorers. For Port, it was pretty much a 2-pronged attack. The 2 forwards did really well. Batty with 4 and Big Shep with 4, both had good games. Kept Port in it but couldn't quite get the chocolates. The Hef as well bobbed in with 2 goals. All right, as always in a Stream Team game, as Colin Rowson just walks through, hello Colin, umpires were fantastic at this game. We'll keep going, we'll soldier on. The TJ Award for Archie's Thongs, well, I had a big size pair of 15s to give away. Cometh the big thong, cometh the ticky penny. Blake Penny, 19 touches, 20 hitouts and 9 clearances. 23 clearances between Blake and Luke Brown. They were instrumental in the middle of the ground. The Moseley voucher best team player for his 5 goals in his effort, Tyler Martin. His aerial presence defies his height. He's only a mid-sized player, but he's very strong overhead and never played for a free once as a forward. Really enjoyed that part of his game. The Archie Song Team Player of the Day was awarded by Phil Herden and went to Tyler Breeden. His goal in the 3rd quarter was, by all descriptions, absolutely clutch. It just gave Tea Tree Gully that ascendancy going into the last quarter. Best on ground, he won a pair of Archies and a Dartfish beanie. No surprise, you're probably right now looking at a great photo of Luke Brown. All right, let's look at the team stats. And I was on Stream Team with Phil and Adam Jeffries. Adam Jeffries is wonderful at keeping live stats for us, and it was really evident. The inside 50 counts was all Tea Tree Gully early. In the end, it was Tea Tree Gully who had 22 more effective kicks. They had 18 more inside 50s. They were basically going 2 inside 50s to 1. That obviously led to the lopsided scoring shots where Tea Tree Gully had 10 more scoring shots of the day. You'd be unlucky to lose a game where you have 10 more scoring shots. They had 11 more marks, 11 more clearances, so you can just see how important Penny and Brown were, and they had, of course, 13 more hit-outs thanks to Blake Penny. Blake Penny's ability to rove a tap when their ruckman actually jumped on him, or he himself take possession of the ball and kick it inside out check side. He must have done it 5 times. He's a very, very talented big man. Not all big men are dumb. Ticky Penny, great game. All right, interesting. Let's just have a look at the best players. For Port, as I said, Batman and Shep both kicked 4. The Gaff did Gaff type things. He had 26 touches and 7 marks. Didn't quite nail his targets like I've seen him do before. Hef was good. Kenny Carpenter had 16. And Adam Jeffrey said Smushy was best for them in defence. He had 17 touches. For the winners, that man, Luke Brown, Martin, Penny. No doubt you'd be, obviously I've given you the stats on those guys, they were great. Some other players that bobbed up did really well. Alex McKay, when they win, he generally plays well. The boss, he had 23, he was in everything. His handball, his frontal handball in particular, can cut teams open. Sean Makers was really clean with his 19. And Tate Boss, not a high value of possessions. Again, it's about, sometimes you don't know as a commentator what the role of each player is, but he certainly played his role. Also, thanks to both coaches giving up their time before the game to give us some insight into the day. Comments on the game, obviously just the 2 games, so I can have a look a bit deeper into it. I went back and watched the last quarter, not just to hear the sound of my own voice, but just to have a bit of an analyse of it. And it was actually deceptively close. It was 8 points of difference at the 19-minute mark in the last quarter. Now, the 8 points was 8 more scoring shots, as you'd expect. And then something happened at the 20th minute mark that probably needs to be seen to be believed. One of those bounces of the ball was a bit like Momfries in the showdown when we beat the Crows, or any of those other. A Port player, to his credit, attacked the ball. It bounced straight up over his head, sideways into Brody Latham's lap. He was able to snap the goal that probably put the game to bed. For Port, it was a pretty sad day for them. 0-3, losing in all 3 grades, but they're coming off a premiership, and I've always said, Div 1 premierships are near impossible to win, going back to back. Well, I've only ever seen one team do it. Ty Jaffa suffered a bad injury on the weekend for Tea Tree Gully. I wish him all the best. I think that's his year over with. I believe it's a knee, so thoughts are with you, mate. Never want to see anyone get injured. Did see his sister play yesterday. She was second best on ground in Tea Tree Gully's junior girls win. So Gully's very, very up and about after the game, as you'd expect. Talking about whether it was going to be shock or PAC. We know it's going to be shock now. There's a bit of commentary around it. Doesn't matter who it is. Basically, they've been written off. They've already overachieved, and they're dangerous now. They're really dangerous. That version of Tea Tree Gully can beat anyone on their day. Will they have enough petrol tickets in the bank? They limped to finals, but they've found another gear. I'm not sure if they'll go any further, but they're here to prove us all wrong. Well done, Tea Tree Gully and Port District on a really good, exciting game. It stayed pretty close all day, and it was a joy to commentate and watch. Thanks to both teams. And the other game, which clearly I wasn't at, and if I was, I'm pretty talented. It was PAC 10-10-70 beating Shock 9-5-59. 11-point win there to the Reds. Our player in footage is going to be the captain of PAC, Lachlan McNamara, number 18. His stats read 28 touches, 5 tackles, 5 clearances, and 3 goals. 28 and 3, you'd take it every day of the week, especially in a final. He was the major goal scorer for PAC with 3, whilst the only multiple for Shock was Oscar Lovelock, who keeps bobbing up each week now moving forward. Again, I wasn't at the game, but PAC shot out the blocks. I believe they kicked the first 3, and they also kicked the last 3 goals. They bookended the game really well. For the rest of the game, Shock really, really competitive in the second half of the first quarter, the second and third quarters. But in the final quarter, it was PAC kicking 3 goals, 5 to no score. So that professionalism, experience, ex-AFL sample talent got them over the line. Obviously really well structured as well. Let's have a look at some of the team stats. PAC, 84 more disposals, 71 more handballs, and 17 more inside 50s. So 20 scoring shots to 14. You can see how they set that up. They also had 12 less turnovers. They probably took time and care with the ball, and they hunted 10 more tackles. So the disposals, it's fair to say, despite it being very close and Shock fighting back and probably even having control late in the third, leaning towards a PAC victory. Let's have a look at some of those better players. There might be some ducks and drakes going on with the better players, I'm not sure. For me, I think the best player wasn't in the best players on the internet, but Lovelock with his 2 goals is very good. Brodie Noble continues his excellent season with 25 hitouts. Tappy down back obviously played a role. Both Davis and Brazel held to 1 goal apiece. Collotto, the coach has named himself in ruck, why not? Named himself in the best players, the big ruckman, why not? Sanderson's in there, might have played a role, small stats. But for me, the captain, young Clayton Simons, 30 touches, 8 clearances, 9 marks. That's a great game, especially if he's on his wing. He's certainly played his role as captain and unlucky not to get his boys over the line. For PAC, well, you could probably guess the names that are in here just for a little change of pace. Cuz down back, unbelievable, 29 touches. Hayden Jolly, 30 touches. And Andrew Bradley, he does this quite often, 23 touches. Where's number 23? It's like he's trying to do it on purpose. Braddles with 23. So Jolly and Braddles in the midfield, obviously crucial. The Clark boys were both out there. They're not brothers, but they're both out there. Ollie the star and the skipper, McNamara. Well, he was best on ground from all reports, and that's certainly how Indy and his co-commentator saw it. Congratulations to PAC. They move on now, trying to book a spot in the final, while Sacred Heart obviously move into the elimination sector. So let's have a look at our game this week. And we are going to start with the second semi-final. Glenunga versus PAC at Webb Oval. It is hard not to look back on the fact that just over 10 years ago, Glenunga were a Div 7 club. Their rise has been phenomenal, but they take on the might of PAC. Let's have a look at the 2 times they met this year, and at round 8 at Park 9, it was PAC by 9 points, ironically enough, whilst in round 17 at Webb Oval it was Glenunga by 27 points. I saw both of these games live as the stream team analyst, and for me, PAC looked the better team in the first time around, Glenunga clearly the better team the second time around. How do you tip against Glenunga? They finished a game and a half clear on top. I'm not going to rattle off the same names I always do. I expect Glenunga to go through their first Division 1 grand final since 1978, I believe. Wish them all the best. Wish both teams all the best. I won't be at that game. We'll be sticking with the other game. But it'd be a great game. Get on out to Webb Oval and have a look and support both teams. Our next game will be at the Sacred Heart Senior School. It's Sacred Heart taking on Tea Tree Gully. Let's have a look at the times they met this year. And there was a point this year where Tea Tree Gully had a real flat spot. I'm talking flatter than something that's really flat. At the middle school in round 7, Sacred Heart just got over the line by 97 points. But then you go, well, this might be a one-sided affair. In round 16, which is just over a month ago at Pertaringa, it was Tea Tree Gully 10-13, taking care of Sacred Heart 7-8. So they have shown that they can match up on it and they can get the job done. Interestingly enough, and I said this last week, once you get to finals, anything can happen, and you are one good month away from being the premiers. Whether you're 5th or 4th or 1st, you've got to put that good month together. Tea Tree Gully, they've got a sniff. They believe in them, and a lot of other people don't, and I think they like it like that. Sacred Heart, outstanding game, fell over in the last quarter. Who to tip? Tea Tree Gully will want me to tip Sacred Heart, so I'm going to tip Sacred Heart. I still think Sacred Heart with their ball use should be another dry day. They're big forwards. I think the loss of Kakura, if he doesn't get up, is a huge loss. But I think in a very close game, I'll be taking the Sacred Heart. All right, that's been our first ever, Division 1 wrap for the finals with myself. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks to James, the cameraman, who does a great job with me. He's giving me a little thumbs up. Thanks, Jimmy. And to our studio audience of, one. It's great to have you here. Thanks for watching every week and for joining us on Between the Posts.
Well, the votes have been counted for our magnificent red Rowie Roll the Dice. And look, it's still got the tag on it, the jacket. Someone's going to win that. Who is it going to be? Well, we're going to announce it in the next few weeks. Will it be Abe Davis, who won the Keith Sims medal? Will it be Hayden Jolly from Prince Alfred? Will it be Sam Daniel from Broadview? Will it be Nigel Osborne from Brighton? Or Jay O'Leary from Broadview, or a number of others? Remember, the votes have been done by our commentators on game day, not necessarily the same as the umpires or even some of the club officials who might have their own ideas on who might be the best. So keep an eye out on that. It is so exciting. a part ownership of a racehorse. You've heard it all year long. Well, the announcement is coming very soon, and it's so exciting. The horse is out there. It's been training the house down, and someone is going to be a part owner of a racehorse. Thank you very much.
And Crone takes the lead in the Gilmore. Crone draws clean out from Mizzy. It's a Queensland victory. And a big payday for his owners, winning the English Millennium in a romp.
But Ayrton the class, and Ayrton won the Victoria Handicap.
But Mahuda goes all the way. Where again, Mahuda?
Taliqua, too classy for them. The Blue Star flashing, beats them all. A Blue Star gets up the win.
But it's all Globe, 100 metres to go. It's 6 lengths in front. This is an outstanding performance again. And Globe eased down, won the King's Coronation Cup in a canter.
Well, last week we covered Prince Alfred and Sacred Heart. I put my coach's hat on, and this week we're going to have a look at Glenunga. So this time Glenunga's game plan. First of all, it's long and direct to their forwards. They crumb well and they goal. So you get a good finish and they get numbers around that crumbing ball. They spread well across the back line. They can also go direct either along the wings to 45 degrees or directly across. So they've got a few strings to their bow. Players to watch. Well, I wrote this out 2 weeks ago and it's come to fruition. Number 10, Abe Davis. He is the everywhere man, as we know. He can also be third man up, can play forward, back and helps out in the midfield. Number 9, Bo Schwartz. He cuts teams to shreds inside and out. A fantastic player. Number 11, so Sam Abel, he's been around a while, but he gives plenty on the wing. He has great strong hands. He can run well. Others to watch in Glenunga because they've got a handful of players that can really do good things. So number 17, Darcy Mitchell. Number 14, Nick Wunke. Number 12, Lincoln Bennett. And number 27, Michael McMahon, amongst many that are worth a mention. Well, spoke about it last week. Glenunga's key to winning, it's not so much the other teams, how do they beat them, what's their kryptonite, it's themselves. Their key to winning for me is they all need to be on the day, prepared, and they will beat anyone on their given day. The mental preparation is so important. Seeking feedback from the coach. Go and ask, where can I improve? What am I not doing so well? And what am I doing well? Play to your strengths. The routine, well, for a player, if you write out your preparation, not just game day. So many players can talk to people and say, what is your prep? Oh, I'll do this, do that. But actually write it out so it's structured. The routine, what are you doing Friday night? Are you having a certain meal? Do you foam roll? Do you set goals? Do you visualise? And then what's your game day routine? Pre-going into the rooms, are you relaxed? Do you mingle? Do you have time to yourself? When you're in the rooms and you start getting changed, well, then you've got to understand that there are 3 or 4 critical areas in that time. And that is the team time, when you're all doing stuff together. There's your own time. So that's when you do your own preparation, whether it's physical and or mental. And then there's coach time, which is the team talk via the coach and instructions. I also suggest writing out 3 goals for the week and reread them just before going out onto the ground. There we have a little bit of a microscopic look at Glenunga. Welcome back. Coach of the Week has been interesting every week, and we've been fortunate enough to have magnificent Farmers Leap supply us with the random shot Shiraz and
Capstan.
That's it, and very lucky coaches out there have been winning that. The home and away season is now over. We're into the finals. When we announce our Coach of the Year, it's not necessarily the Premiership coach. There'll be a number of criteria that we will be voting on, so stand by, Indy, What's happening with the Coach of the Year and when are we doing it?
Well, around the grand final footy show itself, you could definitely expect an announcement for the Coach of the Year to be made. And like Tony said, it doesn't have to be the premiership coach, but sometimes the most resilient, the most tactical, or maybe sometimes the most uniting. It can be a multiple range of departments that contribute to what makes a great coach. And more importantly, the Coach of the Year winner, who we're happy to say Farmers Leap will be collaborating with us and the coach to provide the major prize. That prize is yet to be determined, but you can get excited because it's definitely got a bit of a punch to it, and we're really looking forward to seeing who the winner is going to be. But in the meantime, we would also like to thank and celebrate all of the weekly winners for Coach of the Week in the regular season. Let's take a look at some of the winners that we've had throughout this year in 2023.
The Farmers Leap Coach of the Week, Matt Burgess. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks, mate. Good to be here.
Our round 2 winner from Division 6, Wyatt McKinnon from the Fitzroy Football Club.
I've decided to go with Trent Greenfields from Elizabeth this week as the Coach of the Week.
Joined by Josh Ramsey. You are the winner this week. Welcome, Josh.
Thanks very much.
Nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
Good smile on your face. I didn't think you'd be bringing a smile in today.
I'm very happy after the weekend, Peter. It's been a great week.
The playing coach, Alex Caialotto, currently paired with me. He is going to win 2 bottles of Random Shot wine as part of our Farmers Leap Coach of the Week award. So congratulations, Alex.
Thank you. Thanks very much. And thanks for the Random Shot wine and the Farmers Leap for sponsoring that as well. Got a couple of mates down the Pathway region.
Coach of the Week award for tonight and this week. I'd like to welcome Jason DeLuca. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Indy. Thanks for having me.
As always, one coach stands out from the rest every week. And this week we got 2 more random shots to resupply another lucky coach with. Tony, who is this week's Coach of the Week?
Well, our winner this week, Indy, comes from Division 7, and Craig Forby, you are the winner. Get in contact with us, mate.
Coach of the Week goes to Nathan Grimer from Glenunga, and he's been due for one at this point because, well, Glenunga have had such a fantastic season.
Malcolm Greenwood from Rosewater. So Malcolm Greenwood will get these lovely bottles of Random Shot, Cab Sav and Shiraz.
It's my pleasure to announce this week's Coach of the Week goes to Neil Rawlings from Jets Cross. Neil, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Vince. Division 1 this week for Coach of the Week.
Well, it's Craig Pitt from Prince Alfred Old Collegians, Division 1, selected by, should we dob him in, Adam Jeffries.
The Coach of the Week this week comes from Adelaide Lutheran. It is Andrew Zobel who received these 2 Random Shot wine, 1 Cab Sav, 1 Shiraz. Very nice, high quality wine. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Good, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
The top of the ladder, Kookaburras from at Golden Grove to Luke Barmby.
Random Shot, Cab Sav and Shiraz, absolutely delightful drop. And Luke is the proud recipient of our Random Shot Coach of the Week award. And he's got himself a couple of pearlers here, so enjoy those, Luke.
The Farmers Leap Coach of the Week from the Farmers Leap Winery down in the Padway in the southeast. Great sponsors of the Adelaide Footy League who help us out every week. This week from the Hectorville Hounds, the Coach of the Week is Peter Turner. Mainly because the last 4 weeks, Hectorville Hounds have been on a roll. They've beaten the top 2 sides in Division 4. They're going beautifully along and they're still in with the double chance. So Peter's doing something really, really well down at Hectorville at the moment. 2 bottles of Shiraz, 2021 Shiraz, coming your way, Peter. Best wishes and keep it going.
So congratulations to Mark Evans for coaching Pembroke to a finals campaign in 2023. Your reward, 2 bottles of premium wines from Random Shot, Shiraz and Cab Sav. So congratulations, Mark Evans. We'll send these to you when we got the time.
Well, we've been joined by Beck Northcott in the last 2 weeks. Beck, first of all, you've covered 6 grand finals, so welcome along.
Yeah, look, it's been an awesome 2 weeks, and to see so many women playing, footy, making it to the grand final, and all the excitement that brings, it's been so great.
So Division 6, 4 and 2, and I know you covered, I did the first half of Division 6, and then you guys did the rest of the day. And then on Saturday, we did Division 5, 3 and 1, as well as around about a 2-hour football extravaganza show. But you never get sick of it, do you?
Oh no, not at all. Never get sick of footy, and yeah, especially for me, women's footy. I love just getting around it, being involved, and just watching all the games, and seeing all the excitement of grand final day, especially.
So a couple of points from Saturday before we get into the match stuff, and the first one is my belief in women's football is it's in a great place. The Adelaide Football League can be so proud, and all the teams associated with how women's football has evolved and where it sits. It's in a great place, as I said. I talk a little bit about Hope Valley, one of my old clubs, because I know a lot of players there. But there's 3 or 4 sets of fathers and daughters now playing there, and Paul Lazaradis, who's a great man up there at Hope Valley, was a player in my day. Great guy, really magnetic around the club. He now does the timekeeping. So he did the timekeeping for the women's and also the men's on Saturday. He went to 2 grounds. His daughter's playing. I talk about Craig Rowe. He's got 2 daughters playing. Andre Kulpi, his daughter is playing. And also Paul and Rebecca Hunt's daughter is playing. And I'm sure there's a lot more. The coach, Wraiths Worthingham, is it? Worthingham? His daughter was playing. At Loretto, there was another player there. So Paul Swanbury, a very good friend and past player. His daughter was playing at Loretto. And there were so many more, Beck, because I know you got around and talked to a lot of the players out there. Your connections are fantastic. So that's the first thing, the day. I guess the second one, the coaches. So how did you find? You interviewed Tammy Scott in our footy extravaganza?
Yeah, it was interesting to see sort of the vibe before a grand final, what was happening with all the players, and Scotty was sort of just, keeping an eye on everyone, and then, she had the things she wanted to do before the match and that kind of thing. We've
got to thank all the coaches for their access throughout the season, and there's some more news in a moment around women's football that we'll come to in our next segment. But Tammy Scott and Gary McIntosh, so they gave us access pre-game to come and do interviews. So that is sensational for a grand final. As I said, you've interviewed Tammy, I've interviewed her throughout the year, and Gary, well, Payneham have got a real, a real diamond there, because he's so fantastic, not just for women's football, but for football as well. We all know his history, but I look at him as Gary McIntosh, women's football coach and developer, and just isolate that. Sensational, so be very, very proud. And what I will say, not only the access, but I was talking to Tammy afterwards. We went and gave a whole box of thongs to them, and Gary came up, having just lost the grand final, and they were just standing chatting about the game at the end of a women's grand final. I thought, gee, a lot of coaches wouldn't do that. They'd get the salts and be off and drown their sorrows and whatever. So just the ability for him to do that, he's so invested in the women's football and where it's going, just sensational. And the other one I'd like to mention, I've been in that situation before. You lose a preliminary final. So Luke Robertson at Broadview, been on top all year. I spoke to him through the week. I said, mate, can you come into the van and have a chat with us if you feel up for it? He said, oh, mate. He said, I'm fine with it all. No worries. We got him in the second quarter.
Payneham, as you can see, look now how many behind the footy straight away. It's basically a tale of 2 sides backwards and forwards there with the outnumbers behind the footy.
Well, we're listening with Luke Robertson, and Luke, it's great to get your insight from, I guess, putting the coach's hat on with a 50-50 view here. He put his coaching hat on, and he gave us some of the comments and analysis that we were after that maybe we weren't seeing. He spoke about Payneham Norwood Union's backline and some of Morphy Park's attack, because he'd seen them through the years. So how did you find that, Beck?
Yeah, it was great. And as you said, off the back of losing a prelim, sometimes you get kicked out of the finals. You don't want to know about it anymore. You might want to have a break from it all. But instead, he came in and was really open, really honest. Sounds like he's doing great things at Broadview. They've got really strong program there. And as you said, great to get an insight from someone who's coached against both teams a couple of times, seen them up close. So it's great to have that access.
So we've spoken a bit about the teams and I guess the lineage, if you like. We've spoken about the coaches. The biggest thing I would like to send a shout out to, and for the Adelaide Football League to be aware of what we saw and heard on the weekend. So the crowd, so we were closer to one coach's box than the other, and there was a lot of noise. but I would really like to commend, first of all, the Modbury Football Club. They were in the first game. They were right next to us. And there was a lot of noise, but it was all good fun and support. The second one is Hope Valley Football Club, who are, you know, we do know a lot of the people and everything, but we can get parochial at the footy. They were fantastic. And Payne and Norwood Union had their reserves and the seniors in. So all these people milled around our area, if you like, down around the canteen and that, and there was not one bit of foul language, there was not one bit of trouble on the day. You know, we had the bar behind us and everything. I just think when something good is going on, let's commend those people. So to those couple of clubs, and also all the other clubs that played on the day, just sensational. No problems on the day. We got access, didn't we, Beck? Crowd interviews,
yes,
which was fun and games. So we went up to some people before, during the footy show, of course, tapped them on the shoulder and said, can we do an interview? Sensational. There was 4 or 5 from Payne and Norwood Union and a few others. The conduct and support was fantastic. And I think the biggest thing, Beck, a safe environment for the whole family. There were kids all dressed up. You know, we saw them when the teams were running out and so on. And I know a lot of the teams dress up that don't make it, but they still come to the game. But a great environment for families to bring their kids to.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see all the kids out there kicking in the breaks, and they will bring their footies, and very family atmosphere. Especially, I think you find that women's footy, everyone's just happy to be there. Everyone's excited. A lot of the time, not in Division 1, but the lower divisions, there's new teams. They've never been in a grand final before. They're just excited to be there. So the whole family's there, grandma's there, your auntie's there, and it's just a really good vibe. All
right, so as we said, once again, we can't thank you enough to the teams involved and all the teams that have helped make women's football a success this year. They're on a great trajectory, and we're going to have a little bit of a look at some of the games in a moment, Beck. So stand by, folks. Well, folks, the motto is gamble responsibly, and I've tried it all year long. The magnificent buddy bets we've had with all our friends. Tim Pillion came up the winner last week. He's got 7 out of 7. So I need to find out what the magic trick is. I've spoken with Tommy Javor, and this week's buddy bet. Well, Glenunga play Prince Alfred. So I will say Prince Alfred, but I think that Glenunga will win the grand final. So work that out, the Prince Alfred win this week and make the grand final, and then Glenunga lose and get through. I'm not sure. But anyway, our buddy bet, I can't go against Glenunga because Tommy is, I can't go for Glenunga because Tommy will be Glenunga. So I will take Prince Alfred, and I hope they get up, and I hope I win a buddy bet. Remember, folks, they are magnificent sponsors of ours, Buddy Bet. We thank them, cannot thank them enough. It's a fun bet. It's a handshake bet for any amount that you like, up to or around about $5. Have fun with it, ring up your mates, have a little bet, and maybe you'll come out a winner. Gamble responsibly. The women's grand finals was a huge day on Saturday. Division 5, Division 3, Division 1 reserves and Division 1 culminating in a win by 1 point to Morphy Park. What were other results, Beck?
So, start of the day, we had Division 5 where Loretto took out the win there. In Division 3, it was Hope Valley, and Division 1 reserves, it was Payneham. So, some worthy winners there and some really great footy that we saw, which all led into the big Division 1 clash, which Morphy Park took out, as you said, by 1 point.
Unbelievable game to be there. The heart rate was through the roof. We've got a couple of pictures of our Beanie and Thongs winners. It was so good to present it on the day. A lot of the girls didn't know that we were filming and commentating their games, so it was fantastic to do that. We did a whole football extravaganza as well, a footy show while the reserves were on, and as we said, presented the Beanies and Thongs and got some great interviews. So we'll have a quick look at that. Best on ground, you've got the Dartfish Beanie and the Thongs. We'll let you get back in a moment, but very fierce game.
It was really hard. I wasn't sure how we were going to go there. I thought they might have had it.
And to win the premiership, it's a good finish to the season. I couldn't be prouder.
Stopping some of the most dangerous players, so good work. And now you're a premiership player for life. How's it feel right now?
It feels amazing. Can't believe it, but credit to my girls as well. I wouldn't be able to do it without them.
Some of the footage I just wanted to really highlight. I picked out 2 things on the day to to really sensationalise was Payneham Norwood Union and Morphettville Park in that last quarter, when it was anyone's game. I think it was 3 goals apiece, and the ball went backwards and forwards, but the marks and the kicking, the field kicking, it was as good a footy that you'll see. Don't worry about whether it's men's or women's footy, just football as a whole. It was as good a game of football as you'd ever see, Beck. And when it was coming to the crunch, how good was that, first of all?
Oh, it was just so exciting to watch. And as you said, the heart rate was through the roof.
Yep.
But just awesome watching the pressure, the tackles. It's so hard. Both teams were so desperate for it, especially in that last quarter. Hard hits, big marks, and huge kicks, and both players just taking on the game, running through the middle. It was so great.
It was in the corridor a lot,
yeah.
wasn't it? And Morphy Park tried to switch, and we see, the Celestina Donor gets that ball outside 50, and I thought, what's she doing? She's close to the person on the mark, and she goes and gives that little handball. The bomb comes in. Have a look at this grab.
50 there, that's very dangerous. Goes towards the hot spot.
There's a mark.
There's a mark taken there. They're claiming it. They're all claiming it for Rusden.
Yeah. I didn't say it. Very good player. Stood in the goal square. So let's see, Beck. This close. That was interesting by Donna. I thought, gee, she got close to the player on the mark. Did the handball. Look what happens.
Yeah, so Rusden lining up, not much of an angle here, and she puts it through, and you can hear the absolute roar from the Morphettville faithful there. That's a huge goal there to Rusden, her second of the game.
And then, of course, later on, Payneham get the ball back down the other end and kick a goal as well. So, fantastic. We're going to get across to some of the stats for the game. So, what we're going to discuss is this was a statted game between Morphy Park and Payneham Norwood Union with a 1-point win to Morphy Park. And if the first thing we look at is disposals, so you'll see that Payneham Norwood Union had 242 to 217, but of that the effective were 151 to 116. We'll quickly head across to the marks, and you can see the marks towards Morphy Park, 42 to 18. So, Beck, that's telling us that possession football a lot of the time, because PNU, Payneham Norwood Union, had more of the ball, but Morphy Park, when they had it, were playing keepings off to a certain degree. Contested 11 to 4, uncontested 31 to 14. What have you got in the stoppages? This is very interesting.
Yeah, this stat grabbed me as soon as I had a look at it. So, clearly in the stoppages, the hit-outs are being won by Morphettville Park. They're well ahead. But the clearances overwhelmingly are being won by Payneham. And we talked about this during the game. The Morphy's ruck was really dominant, and we talked about how you can set up in the midfield as if you're going to lose the hit out and you can still get the clearance, which is clearly what was going on there with Payneham, because you don't have to get the first. Don't have to get the first hands in the tap. If you're in there under it, get out with the clearance.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Set up your structures correctly, and if everyone's attentive to what they need to be doing, play your role, very important. We go across to our next page and we look at set actions in play, and we'll see the frees for and against. So it was 33 frees to Payneham Norwood Union, because remember they had more of the ball, to 21. The handballs 88 to 58, so they were handballing a lot more, 30 more handballs. The inside 50s, it was 1 point the difference at the end of the day. The inside 50s, 27 to 26. So pretty similar from both teams. And then we looked at the turnovers, which we discussed previously, and that was unforced turnovers, 54 to 36 against. So Payneham Norwood Union had more for unforced turnovers, so mistakes happening when you're not under pressure. When you were forced, well, Morphy Park had more, 25 to 15. We come across to a couple of interesting statistics here. Our best on ground, we gave it to Cammy Williams, and we looked up the statistics, and it was 9 actual disposals, but it was her running patterns, it was where she needed to be. And when we come to later on some of the statistics, it's not how many you get, it's what you do with them when you do get them. And I think she at times saved the games in certain periods when Payneham were up, but also she played her role very well. And we do notice that the club also gave her best player, so that was interesting. The second one we're going to look at, because this is everything you can do with Dartfish, you can isolate this and put footage to it. Celestina Dona, so she had 14 disposals, but in the second half she got 11 of those. So remember I was saying on commentary, we haven't seen much of her. Can they put her on the ball, do something? Well, 11 of her 14 were in the second half, and in the final quarter, 3 of the 14 free kicks were to Celestina herself. So a little bit interesting. What else have you got there, Beck, on stats?
Yeah, so we also had a little bit of a look at Jamila Totham from Payneham. Now, she racked up 27 disposals, which is huge within itself, but she had 6 of those clearances we were talking about earlier, so it means she was in there at the stoppages, getting in and around and getting that ball out to her team. So she had a ripper game, and again, that's one of those awesome things you can see on the stats. You can bring it down to each player and see exactly what they were doing in the game.
Well, you look at the frees for, frees against. She got 4 frees for, but also 3 against. So she was in around the ball a lot of the time. Number 26, we did call her a lot. Interesting, her 27 disposals, her disposal efficiency is running at 70%, which is very, very high. As we said, there's a whole myriad of statistics we can get. We go to our next graph, and that's our forced turnovers. So, as I mentioned earlier, 25 to 15 forced. So they were under pressure, Morphy Park, when they had the ball, and they were giving it up. However, unforced. So that's when you're not so much in a relaxed state, but you haven't got that pressure right there. It could be visual. Pressure comes in many ways. It could be visual pressure. It could be just general fatigue on your kick or your handball. It could be verbal. There's many things, or it could be physical. So there's many types of pressure, or internal. And unforced errors there, turnovers, 53 to 37. So once again, coaches, get hold of these stats. We look at the match statistics comparative. So this is for marks only. So we can do team, we can do disposal scoring. We looked at the marks. There's a couple of diamonds there. What do they all mean? Total marks, very high, and uncontested, very high. So it's a diamond within a diamond there. So very high to Morphy Park, as we said.
Well, I think just, looking at the marks like that, I think it can show 2 things. It can show that Morphettville Park, were getting people in space, doing switches so they could get those uncontested marks as well. But there were also a few times where Payneham were really under pressure and probably dropped a couple of marks that they should have taken as well. So it's probably why they were a little bit down as well. So
what we'd like to share with our viewers now, the last one that you can get hold of. You can get hold of your leaders board only for your team and individuals, and there's many different areas in that leaderboard that you can look up. It's not just disposals. It might be who led the handballs, who led the tackles, who led the marks. But what we've done here is you can also get a combined disposals leaders. So you can see that 3 of the top 8, or 4 of the top 8, came from Payneham Norwood Union in regards to the disposals, and then Christina Luzzi had a very good game as well with 19, and Brooke Trevina as well, coming in for Morphy Park, and Minerva Bailey there with 15. But up the top, we mentioned Jamila Totham a lot during the game, and Adrian Davies, and also Abby Claby with that long dark hair there out the other side, wearing number 99 she was, and Chloe Samuels the other one. So you can go through the whole team and look that up. The reason we're mentioning a lot of this, next year, first of all, to the clubs that would like to know more information, we'll put the contact details up. We can not only film your games, which is done anyway, but we can stat the games for you. And there's so much more than just this that we're able to do. We can also design your own style of coaching. So if you're a coach that likes to just look at backline stats or forward line stats or midfield clearances, whatever, you can set up and you can get your playlist done depending on what your needs are. So it can be tailored to needs. That's the first thing. The contact details are on screen. If you want to access all the stats and the vision, touch base anytime. The second big announcement, Beck, now that the women's season is over, is we are looking at next year live streaming the Division 1 game of the round with commentary throughout the season. So 2 things that we'd like to talk about there. If you're a sponsor and you would like to get a great amount of exposure, by all means make contact with the contact details up there, because we're always after sponsors. One, it helps us, but two, it helps yourself. And we've got a myriad of sponsors already through Dartfish, with our friends at Buddy Bet, the Banner Crew, Make Sure Ratify, Archie's Thongs, and so on. We've got a great amount of sponsors, but if you would specifically like to looking at sponsoring the women's football, what a great opportunity. The other thing is, Beck, you have been magnificent this year helping with football in general, but all the men's games. You've been a boundary rider, you've commentated so many games. We're also looking to come and give you a hand. So if there's someone out there that thinks that they'd like to have a go, it's not that hard, is it?
Oh, no. Easy.
So if there's someone out there that would like to have a go at commentating the women's games and or the men's games, by all means, please make contact. The details are up on the screen there. We've got a commentator academy. Myself and Phil Herden are helping. We've had 6 or 8 commentators come on board this year. I reckon we've got about 15 commentators currently, but always on the lookout for more. So if you think you've got what it takes, by all means make contact and we'll help you transition into some commentating in 2024. That's a wrap up of the women's football.
It's time for another weekly segment of Indies Analytics, and in particular this week we're going to be isolating our focus on the Prince Alfred and Sacred Heart qualifying final. Easily, in my opinion, the best game of Adelaide Footy League that I have seen this year across all of the divisions, and I was incredibly impressed from the performance of both teams. I mean, as a fan, you never really want to admire a loss, but I admire a lot about Sacred Heart's performance, and I think that they still ticked a lot of boxes that almost got the job done against Prince Alfred, particularly after conceding the first 4 goals. They would end up to get 5 of the next 6 goals in very impressive fashion. I was incredibly pleased as well with the state of the game because it wasn't too low scoring, it lived up to the good quality conditions, but more importantly, we saw the best of both sides. We saw Sacred Heart's intensity really take a lift up, and you have players like Goliath and Sean Tapp as well who know how to bring the ball to ground and apply the tackling pressure to the Crummers, and they did that really superbly throughout the game. But in particular, Lachlan McNamara, he was the one that really lifted for Prince Alfred in the second half. And I even said it on air during the third quarter. I said, what has he really accomplished in this match? Well, he turned out to be the best player on the ground by the end of it, because his next quarter and a half after I said those words turned out to be one of the best individual patches of play from any player this season. And it was absolutely monumental in turning the tide of the games. After they got nearly 19 points down at one point late in the third quarter, Prince Alfred managed to win the game and really lock the ball into their forward half in that final term. And it's a bit frustrating to deal with it as a coach from a Sacred Heart perspective, we know, because when a ball gets locked into the forward half for such a long period of time and you can't find the easy way to get it out, you try everything. You go with the short switches, you go with the long bombs down the corridor, but none of it quite works, and eventually it does start to falter, and it does start to even make you wonder just a little bit, are we going to be able to breach that? Well, Sacred Heart, they'll learn a lot of lessons from that moment, but they would not have lost any lovers on the weekend because they still played a superb game. And, well, I'll be tipping them to beat Tea Tree Gully this weekend, but of course Tea Tree with their upset win could go anywhere. But overall, really impressed with Sacred Heart, and I think a game like that does show that they have made genuine progress this season as a Division 1 team. Prince Alfred, on the other hand, will be coming up against the Glenunga Rams, and on the back of McNamara's match-winning performance, I think the only question marks that'll have to come over them is, well, are they going to be able to compete with the big tall towers that the Rams have? Because, well, Brazel and Juice weren't the highlights of that game. They definitely did their role, but obviously McNamara the one to kick some of the match-winning scores later in those late stages of the game. But Juice was held relatively well by Sean Tapp and the other key position defenders from Sacred Heart, who did a really good job. Even when the ball was constantly coming back in there during the last quarter, they didn't concede too many bags and at least managed to bring it to ground. Eventually, Prince Alfred got the best of them in that department, but it was still a really great effort from the key defenders. But what interests me now is that, well, all of a sudden Prince Alfred are the ones who are going to have to keep up with Glenunga's key position players, and obviously McMahon, as well as Abe Davis and Darcy Mitchell, are all going to be really big parts of that. You can also add the Wonky brothers to the mix, because it's going to be hard to isolate all of them, and they may need to make some compromises and learn to go a little bit more mobile against that tall, towering team. Will the conditions be wet? Will they be dry? We can't give an accurate forecast update yet, but I feel like if it is a wet game, it may even just be enough to favour Prince Alfred, because even with Glenunga's quality, running it and trying to grind it through from those hard ball gets along the turf might be a better means to get a goal in a game where there probably won't be many if it's wet. But if it's a dry game, well, they'll have to come prepared with an aerial brand and a way to slingshot off of halfback as they do best. But that's my takeaway from the game between Prince Alfred and Sacred Heart. Again, absolutely one of the best games of the year. I would highly recommend and go back watching the full stream or the highlights.
Welcome back. It's time to have a look at all our medal winners and goal scorers for the season from all the men's divisions. Division 1 was won by Abe Davis, who wins the Keith Sims medal from Glenunga with 25 votes. Congratulations, Abe. What a sensational season Abe had as well. Division 2, Jake Pittman, the FA Block medal from Golden Grove, 35 massive votes.
And coming in with 32 votes to win the GS Herd medal from the Men's Division 3 League from Flinders Park, Nick Schwartz. Congratulations to you. Not to mention Sean Kirshner from the Men's Division 4 League, winning the J.W. Schultz medal from Walkerville with 25 votes.
Gee, you got a lot of S's in there, Indy. Very well done. I got the easy names. Division 5, Daniel Mason winning the JB Dicker medal from Jeffs Cross with 29, and Division 6, Mitchell Slater, the AG Burt medal from Salisbury. I think he's got the highest score, 44 votes. Well done, Mitchell Slater.
And then there's also Harrison Casler with the R.A. Stennett medal from Division 7 from O'Sullivan Beach Longsdale with 30 votes to take out the Best and Fairest award. So congratulations to all of the Best and Fairest pollers and those who competed highly in the votes. Remember, you can find the full vote tallies on the official Facebook page to look at the leaderboard and the leading contenders from each of the clubs. But we also have our goal kickers as well, and this one, well, this is the one that you get to track the whole year, and you know who's leading it. From Men's Division 1 in the Adelaide Footy League, Jaden Juice Davis with 51 goals from Prince Alfred takes out the leading goal kicker award. And from Division 2, the Breakthrough Mental Health League, Thomas McCormack from Ross Trevor Old Collegians. A season after relocation, he shows that he still belongs in Division 1 with his quality. He kicked 48 goals to win the leading goal kicker award.
Oh, very well said there, and a bit of analysis along the way as well. Men's Division 3, the Adelaide Footy League, Liam Verity from Modbury with 73 goals. Well done, Liam Verity. That's a name that we saw pretty regularly every week in the goal scorers, so well done to that young man. Men's Division 4, 9 News, Ben Haran from Lockleys with 62.
And then from Men's Division 5, the Wakefield Sports Clinic League, Corey Solly from Kilburn with 74 goals. From the Men's Division 6 O'Neill Sportswear League, we have Patrick O'D from Marion with 70 goals. But our Division 7 winner, Tony, actually reached triple digits, didn't he?
Well, as the Division 7 specialist, I was so proud of this young man and everything that he's achieved, because we kept an eye on it throughout the season. He'll get more in the finals as well. But our Men's Division 7, CMAX Clinical Research, a great institution they are. Daniel Wheatrow, you superstar from Para Hills, 104. That's 104 goals for the season. Congratulations to all our goal scorers. We'll be right back after this one.
Well, good day, footy fans, and thanks to O'Neill Sportswear. Welcome to the weekend wrap. A look at all the men's A-grade results, finals implications across the Adelaide Footy League from Saturday, September the 2nd. Every A-grade division now in finals. The CMAX Clinical Research Division 7, well, they played their semi-finals. And if you look at their ladder, we had the top 5 Ingle Farm Minor Premiers, Para Hills and Houghton second and third, OSB Lonsdale and Flinders University making the 5. Last week in the elimination final, OSB Lonsdale dispatched Flinders University by 50 points. And in a bit of an upset, Houghton Districts on the road beat Para Hills by 14 points. So our first semi-final, Para Hills rebounded strongly, 49-point win, ending the season of OSB Lonsdale Para Hills through to the preliminary final. Second semi-final, Ingle Farm and Houghton District for a first grand final berth and promotion to Division 6, and that was won by the minor premiers pretty easy. 6-1 in the opening quarter, 8-3 in the second, 3-1 in the third, and 4-2. All adds up to an 86-point victory. Ingle Farm, the first team promoted in the Adelaide Footy League men's this year, first team to book a grand final spot. What does that mean for the finals coming up next Saturday? Houghton are the hosts. Stay tuned for venue information against Para Hills. And in the grand final, again, venue to be announced September the 16th, Ingle Farm will play the winner of Houghton Districts and Para Hills. That's the CMAS Clinical Research Division 7. On to O'Neill Sportswear Division 6 that had their first round of finals on Saturday. Fitzroy and Century United in the elimination. Greenacres and Salisbury in the qualifying. Marion Minor Premiers had the bye. Here's the elimination final, and the Lions of Fitzroy beat Century United at home. 28-point victors. Again, a strong start, 5-2. Maintained that buffer throughout. Even though Fitzroy only scored 1 goal, 13 in the entirety of the second half, and Century United kicked 3 goals, 5. The damage had been done in the first half. The Lions progress with a 28-point victory. They'll take on Salisbury, who went down to Greenacres. The Dragons led by a goal at quarter time and a high-scoring affair. 11 goals in the first quarter, only 25 in total for the match. But yeah, it was Greenacres. They certainly did well in the first and third quarters, where they kicked 11 of their 16 goals, headed for home with a 7-goal advantage, which in the end, the final quarter was tied. A 42-point win to the Dragons. They will face Marion the Rams next week for a spot in the Div 6 Grand Final and promotion. Salisbury, double chance. They'll need it. They'll take on Fitzroy next week. Salisbury hosting Fitzroy in the first semi-final, Marion and Greenacres in the second in the O'Neill Sportswear Division 6. Wakefield Sports Clinic Division 5 head into their first week of finals. Jeps Cross, the minor premier, the week off. Kilburn, just the 2 losses, hosting Colonel Light Gardens, 13-5. Trinity and West Croydon in the elimination. The games, well, we don't have a quarter-by-quarter breakdown, but Trinity did beat West Croydon by 19 points. So Trinity stay alive. West Croydon's season is done. Kilburn and Colonel Light Gardens. Here was a surprise. Kilburn had absolutely torn up a lot of teams, but Colonel Light Gardens on the road proved, they launched the ambush, particularly with a 5-1 second quarter that put their noses in front, turned a 20-point deficit into a 5-point lead. Then 5-2 in the third quarter extended that out so that they had a 21-point lead heading for home, and they won the final quarter anyway, 4-3. A 27-point upset win to Colonel Light Gardens. They will play Jeps Cross for promotion and a grand final berth next week. Kilburn get Trinity. So yeah, those matches, first semi-final, Kilburn and Trinity, Jeps Cross and Colonel Light Gardens, the second semi. Check Play HQ through the week for confirmation of venue and times. Non-News Division 4, Paraka Minor Premiers had the week off. Lockleys hosted the Dolphins, the CBCLC, and Plimpton and Hectorville, the dog fight, the Bulldogs and the Hounds at Plimpton. The games went, pretty easy win there into Plimpton after a tight first quarter, 6-1 in the second, set up an 87-point win, so the Bulldogs stay alive to fight another week, and they'll play the Dolphins, the CBC Old Collegians, who, were blown away in the third quarter in particular, only trailed by 11 points at halftime, but 7-3 in the third quarter set up a pretty emphatic 8-goal win to the Demons of Lockleys that progressed to the second semi-final. The matchups in the 9 News Division 4 next week, first semi-final, CBC Old C will host Plimpton. In the first semi, Paraka and Lockleys for an early grand final berth and early promotion to Division 3. That's the 9 News Division 4 finals picture. On to Division 3, Modbury, the minor premiers, the week off. Only Mercedes hosted Flinders Park and Hope Valley hosting Pembroke. How did all that work out? Well, Hope Valley knocked out the Div 4 premiers of last year, Pembroke. And have a look at that three-quarter time score. It was Pembroke by 5 goals, 13-5-78 to 7-11. That's 53. So that's 5 goals. So 30-point lead. 83 to 53 was the three-quarter time margin. And then Hope Valley just went bang, 11 goals to 3. Turned that deficit, which was huge, into a 19-point win. One of the most brilliant quarters of football we've seen this season, and it kept a season alive and in the process knocked out Pembroke. Hope Valley into the first semi. In the qualifying final, even first quarter, then Flinders Park kicked 6 goals to 1 in the second, and despite only Mercedes kicking 5 goals in the third, they were never really back in the contest. Flinders Park eventually succeeding on the road by 33 points. They'll be on the road next week again when they travel to play Modbury for a spot in Division 2 and the Division next year and the Division 3 grand final in a couple of weeks. Only Mercedes will get Hope Valley next week. So that's the semi-final matchups. Only Mercedes and Hope Valley, Modbury and Flinders Park in the second semi-final. That's all your Division 3 finals news. Down to the Breakthrough Mental Health Foundation Division 2, Golden Grove. The Kookaburras got a big game next week. Had the bye this week. It was Payneham hosting Foss and Rocks hosting Athelston. That long commute that Athelston were going to have to make to get to Campbelltown. In the elimination final, tight start. Athelston had the better of it. 2-goal leaders at quarter time. Rocks kicked 4 goals to 0 in the second to take a small lead of 10 points. And even at three-quarter time, it was 14 points the margin. But in the final stanza, Rocks 6 goals to 2 to take care of business and win by 35 points, advance to the first semi-final, where they will play Payneham Norwood Union. So the two teams relegated at the end of last year will fight to stay alive and a chance to go straight back up. Payneham Norwood Union at home jumped early by Foss Camden 6 goals to 3, and the Phantoms pretty much kept their distance. 13-point leaders at halftime, 18 at the last change. And then even though Payneham kicked 2 goals to 1, Foss Camden had enough of a buffer to emerge with a 15-point victory. The Phantoms will take the road trip up to Harpers Field next week, take on Golden Grove. The winner of that, then will be a great story either way. The Phantoms back in Div 1 or Golden Grove there for the first ever time. Whilst in the the first semi-final, let's go through the matchups. First semi-final, Payneham Norwood Union get a second chance. They host Rocks, and second semi, Golden Grove and Foss Camden. The winner through the Division 1 in 2024. That just leaves us the actual Division 1 finals, which has Glenunga having a week off as Prince Alfred and Sacred Heart went to work, and Port District hosted Teaching Gully in a knockout final. Bit of a surprise at large is Teaching Gully. Tight game, 1-point leaders at quarter time and then trailed by 2 at half time. Kicked 5 goals to 2 in the third quarter to establish a 19-point lead. Would it be enough? It proved that way. Teaching Gully kicking 2 goals to Port District's 3, which was not enough to breach the deficit. And the Gullies, albeit with that record, managed to stay alive and make the first semi-finals with a 15-point victory over the defending premiers. So once again, I think it's been 9-10 years or so since we've had a back-to-back Division 1 champion. We won't have one in 2023. Qualifying final at Park 9 was a doozy. Prince Alfred the first 4 goals. I think Sacred Heart kicked like 9 of the next 11 to establish a bit of a lead. Prince Alfred, though, came back and from 12 points down in the final quarter, not only kicked 3 goals, 5, held Sacred Heart absolutely scoreless. The Redmen getting up by 11 points. They've got the date with Glenunga in the second semi. Sacred Heart, well, they're going to face the surprise packet, Tea Tree Gully. They'll host them in the first semi-final. That will be at the Senior College, being revised, Glenunga and Prince Alfred at Webb Oval. So that's a wrap of the divisions. Just a quick reminder, we mentioned the relegation club last week. There they all are again. We've got our first team in the promotion club, Eagle Farm, as the minor premiers won the second semi. They're in the Div 7 grand final due Div 6 next year. This time next week, 6 of those remaining 11 spots will be filled. The final 5 will be the week after. And so we'll have a relegation club all full, promotion club starting to fill up, and then it will be the Premiers Club at the end of the season. In terms of who my team of the week is, hard not to go past Hope Valley in Division 3, trailing at three-quarter time by a reasonable margin, by 30 points. Usually that's enough, but they kicked 11 goals, 2 to 3 goals, 1, if that's correct scoring in the books. And in doing so, they took a 19-point win over Pembroke. So for having a best quarter of the season at the most important time of the season, Hope Valley feels team of the week. That's a wrap. A lot of finals action between the post during the week. We'll give you a lot more. Until next week, hope you enjoy your finals footy.
Well, we have some exciting news all around Dartfish. Many of you know Dartfish because we come out and we film games, and then we do the Division 1 and we live stream and commentate games. But there is so much more to the back end which our coaches have found out this year. The charts, the graphs, the data and the footage that we can put to your requirements is absolutely sensational, and it's going ahead even further. We've already had teams booked and purchasing packages for next season that actually aren't playing in the finals now, so a lot of coaches and teams are doing their homework. September and October are very big months for Dartfish because non-finals clubs are doing this amount of homework. What are they doing? Well, they're doing player analysis, they're doing exit interviews and putting footage to the exit interviews, they're giving a lot of feedback, we're getting lots of stats, and as we said, footage is a very big part of it. There's so much that we can do with that footage. So keep an eye out on Dartfish. Please make sure you get in contact with the details up on screen, because there's so much that we're doing with clubs from Division 1 through to Division 7. We've got some exciting news around women's football that we'll be covering in the segment with Beck a little bit later on, to do with Dartfish as well. The other thing that we want to mention is make sure Ratify, our sponsors that we often talk about. This is the time of the year that people are either applying for jobs as a coach, reapplying as the coach of their club, or clubs are looking at the accreditations. So it's no good going, well, I need to get this accreditation, and I need this mental health one over here, and I need my training one over here, and I need my level 3 here. You can put all that onto one app at Ratify and send that through to the club. So have a look at, make sure, and especially Ratify the app, because there's so much there that can be tailored towards your coaching and your accreditations, and also for the clubs to make it very easy to say, okay, let's just have a look at what that person sent in, and it's all on that one app. So cannot pump that up enough. Remember folks, get in contact if you'd like to learn more, and may you have a successful end of 2023 and a successful start to 2024.
Well, like we said, it's finals time, and even though the regular season is done, contenders for marks and goals of the week still remain, and they're more important than ever at this time of year. Our goal of the week winner from last week, though, in the last round of the men's regulation, was Scott Nerlich from the Broadview Football Club, winning the $50 ORTC voucher for his goal of the week effort. Congratulations to you. What about the mark, Tony?
Well, Trevor Rigney at O'Sullivan's Beach, Lonsdale, we're going to have to contact him and find out what kind of diet he's into and the lifestyle, because the man is evergreen, and to get up that high and take that spectacular mark fantastic. And of course, with that mark, he wins the Bianco $100 voucher. So congratulations, Trevor Rigney, O'Sullivan's Beach Lonsdale Division 7, Indy.
Now it's time to take a look at this week's nominations. Finals week 1 from Div 1 through to 6 and finals week 2 of Division 7 respectively. Remember, the top 3 nominations across all of the leagues are put up on the official Adelaide Footy League Facebook page. To cast your vote, go to the page and vote using the respective and appropriate emoji reaction.
And good take from Blyer. So he'll go on his right, put it up towards centre wing. Oh, big fly! Excellent.
And where his own entry will side out to, though. He goes on his right foot. Oh, what about that? An absolute hanger.
Well, good day, footy fans. My name's Phil Hurd, and thanks to O'Neill Sportswear, welcome to the Women's Wrap. A look at all the women's results and ladders across the Adelaide Footy League from the final day of the women's footy season, Saturday, September the 2nd. A quick look back at the Villiers Bakery Division 6 that had its grand final the previous week. Athelston, the minor premiers, Teacher Gully second, Golden Grove third. In the finals, Golden Grove eliminated Marion. Athelston got the first spot in the grand final, beating Teacher Gully. And in the prelim, Golden Grove sent Teacher Gully out in straight sets, setting up an Athelston Golden Grove grand final, which was won by Golden Grove by 3 points. That was last week at Blair Athol Reserve. On to the Powerade Division 5, and Loretto and Modbury, the top 2 teams, followed by Woodville South and North Haven at the end of the minor round. Woodville South, 1 goal 10. Still laugh when I say that, but it was good enough to beat North Haven 2 goals to Loretto, beating Modbury by 11 points, first spot in the grand final. Modbury then came and joined them after taking care of Woodville South by 24 points. Set up the Division 5 grand final on Saturday, September the 2nd at St Mary's Park, and it was Loretto holding on in a low-scoring affair, holding on maybe. They led it every change, no goals kicked until the final quarter, just 1 for the game. But it was enough for Loretto in their second season of women's footy. Runners-up narrowly last year, premiers in the Powerade Division 5 this season. Congratulations to Loretto, old scholars, on their first premiership. To the New Mouthguards Division 4, this one wrapped up last week. Hectorville and Eastern Park, the top 2 teams from Mitcham and Lockleys. In the finals, Mitcham dispatched Lockleys. Hectorville first in the granny, big win over Eastern Park. Eastern Park came back and joined them, beating Mitcham. And last week at Blair Athol Reserve, it was all Hectorville all the way, 38-point wins. The Hounds claiming the Neomorph Mouthguards Division 4 title. Yesterday, in the 9U's Division 3, we had a grand final. We had Flinders Park and Hope Valley finish the minor round top 2. Pembroke and Pulteney 3rd and 4th in the finals. Pulteney dispatched Pembroke by 9 points. Hope Valley took an early step in the grand final, beating Flinders Park, but Flinders Park made a rematch of it, defeating Pulteney by 2 points in the prelim final. So it was a Flinders Park Hope Valley matchup yesterday at St Mary's Park in the 9U's Division 3 grand final, and it was Hope Valley who got up, and they led by 10 points at quarter time, 2 points at half time, 11 points, 13 points at 3/4 time. Only kicked the 1 point in the final quarter, but they had enough of a lead. Flinders Park got the second goal, but they needed at least another one to get within range. So Hope Valley, the Demons, your 9U's Division 3 premiers over Flinders Park. To Division 2, sorted out a week ago, Teacher Gully and Goodwood Saints, the top 2 teams. Golden Grove and Westminster made it to the finals. In the finals there, Golden Grove beat Westminster in the first semi. Goody Saints beat Teacher Gully for the early grand final spot. And Teacher Gully went out in straight sets, Golden Grove getting up by 13 points. Set up a Goodwood Saints Golden Grove grand final, won by the Saints of Goodwood last Saturday at Blair Athol Reserve, 44 points. That, I think, is the biggest winning margin of any grand final. It was Goodwood all the way. I think they won every quarter, kept Golden Grove goalless in the process. Back to yesterday's action at St Mary's, and our Division 1 reserves was decided. Payneham Norwood Union, they came into the finals unbeaten from Broadview, Morphy Parks and Happy Valley. Happy Valley dispatched in the first semi-final by Morphy Parks. Payneham, a pretty easy 35-point win over Broadview. Broadview got back on the winners list, beating Morphyville Park by 24 points to set up that Payneham-Broadview matchup in the grand final. Could the Falcons go undefeated? Yes, they could. Not the easiest of wins in the end, 13 points in a relatively high-scoring affair, but Payneham did lead at every change. 8 points at quarter time, 9 points at half time. They kicked away 2 goals, 4-0 in the third quarter to set up a 25-point lead. That even though Broadview got going and kicked 3 final quarter goals, it was not enough to catch up to the perfect Payneham Norwood Union Falcons. Undefeated, undisputed Division 1 reserves premiers. Which leaves us just the Division 1 that was decided yesterday. Broadview and Payneham, Morphy Parks, 3 teams, 1 premiership point between them, and then Henley making the finals. Morphy Parks dispatched Henley by 19 points. Payneham took care of Broadview by just the 9 in the second semi. Did Broadview get a second shot? No, they didn't. Morphyville Park, very strong win there, defeating Broadview by 34 points. Set up a Payneham Norwood Union Morphyville Park grand final for the top tier in women's footy, the Adelaide Footy League Division 1 grand final, and it was won by Morphyville Park by the narrowest of margins, just the 1 point. Payneham had a 2-goal lead, started strong, 2-goal lead at quarter time. That was reduced to 9 points at half time. Morphyville Park hit the front with a 2-goal 2 to 2-point third quarter to take a 3-point lead into the final break. Both teams kicked a goal. Payneham Union caught up 2 points, but in the end fell short by the narrowest of margins. So congratulations to Morphyville Park, the Division 1 premiers in the Adelaide Footy League Women's Footy this year. So let's have a look across all 7 competitions. There's your premiers flow. Golden Grove Division 6, Loretto Old Scholars Division 5, Hectorville Division 4, Hope Valley Division 3, Goodwood Saints Division 2, Payneham Norwood Union Perfect Season Division 1 Reserves, and Morphyville Park, the big one in Division 1. Congratulations to all the premiers. Well, that's a wrap on the women's wrap for season 2023. Congratulations to all the champions, the medal winners, and so forth. And good luck to all enjoying your summer break. Hope to see you all back for a bigger and better 2024 women's season. Thanks also to O'Neill Sportswear, for their support of this segment through the year, and all of you for watching it. Until it's time for some more women's footy coverage, hope you enjoy.
Welcome back, folks. Well, we have come to the end of the show, and talking about the end, something special on the weekend happened that you don't see every week in football. Let's have a look at Hope Valley. They were 30 points down at three-quarter time against Pembroke. Two of my old teams. I had a foot in either camp. However, Hope Valley come out, they kick 11 goals in the last quarter, they run away and they win an elimination final. Congratulations. Good boy, Kate.
Well, tonight we focused on a weekend gone by, but it's time to look at the weekend ahead because it's going to be an absolutely cracking one. Phil Herden and Tommy Javor will be going to Webb Oval to see the top of the ladder Glenunga Rams play Prince Alfred in the second qualifying. The winner advances to the grand final immediately, and the loser, well, they'll have to activate their second chance and face the winner of the other live stream game in Division 1 of the Adelaide Footy League. Sacred Heart Old Collegians, the brave team from last week, will be coming up against Tea Tree Gully, fresh off of their big upset against the reigning premiers. It'll be an absolutely cracking weekend of finals, and I absolutely cannot wait for it, Tony.
Sensational, Indy. It will be a fantastic weekend. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank our many sponsors, and just several of them here. The Banner Crew. Banner Crew is a trusted South Australian, locally run and owned company who take customer service seriously. The Banner Crew offers a large range of signage, flags, marquees, mesh banners, pull-ups, A-frames, T-shirts, caps, and much more. BuddyBet. BuddyBet provides a world-first social service platform that connects people via digitising the handshake BuddyBet. Unfortunately, I haven't won too many of them this season. Tim Pillion did very good last week. Make Sure Ratify. Folks, get on to Make Sure and Ratify. Make Sure is a pre-employment background checking system, first of all, so you can get on and have a look at them. And Ratify, for all you coaches out there or coaches that are applying for positions or clubs wanting to know more about the coaches, you can get on to Ratify, put all your accreditations in there and send that through to the club all on one document. So a fantastic thing that's coming into vogue across Australia for many of the coaching fraternity as well as the workplace out there. Now, Indy, the next one I'm not allowed to read.
Yes, because it's your sponsor, Tony. Programs to Fit. Programs to Fit deliver a fantastic range of team development, teamwork and team performance-based workshops for clubs, teams and individuals at all levels. And last but definitely not least for our list of sponsors, Tony.
Oh, thank you.
Archie thongs. Archie arch support thongs look just like normal thongs, but yet they provide the same amount of support of a typical orthotic, providing comfort never before seen in a regular pair of thongs. So we're very grateful to have them collaborating with us, and more importantly, I'm sure the players are thankful because we give them out to the best on ground every week, and definitely, well, there might not be much use for them in winter, but come summertime, they'll definitely be handy, and they'll last a long time, more importantly. That's the main thing. So very grateful for Archie's contributions.
Very quickly on Archie's as well, we're getting some slides that we're going to be handing out over the next few weeks. They've got a new product, the slides, and they've also come on board. They're a long-time supporter and sponsor of ours, and they've already nominated that next year they're on board again, and we're getting thousands of pairs of thongs. So thank you so much to Archie's.
Well, don't forget you can also find us on social media. Don't forget to check the official Adelaide Footy League Facebook page for the latest updates. And of course, if you want to watch our live streams, tune into the Filming Footy YouTube channel where all of the Adelaide Footy League live streamed games will be found. particularly for the final series coming up. We'd also like to thank all of our guests. I'd like to personally thank Tony, of course, and I'd like to thank all of our viewers for watching. Get set, because the finals is still yet to resume this weekend, and more importantly, there's a lot of season-shaping matchups to come up. So thank you very much for watching, and we look forward to bringing you next week's episode of Between the Posts with more on the progressing final series.
You've been watching Between the Posts.